To help us understand exactly what is at stake today and what matters most to the two parties, we turn to political analyst David Tandy, former Metro Council president, and Iris Wilbur Glick with McCarthy Strategic Solutions. Thank you both for coming on today and spending the evening with us.
Glad to be with you.
Thank you.
All right, so David, we're going to start with you. Longtime Democratic Metro Council member. We want to ask you, what do you think is the most important race for Democratic voters today?
Well, I think certainly a lot of attention is going to be placed at the top of the ticket, with all the attention nationally being on control of the Senate and control of the House. So certainly the Senate race between Charles Booker and Rand Paul will get a lot of attention there, as well as the replacing Chairman John Yarmouth as the 3rd Congressional District representative, and the Morgan McGarvey Stuart Ray race. Those two, I think, will get a lot of attention there for that one. And then, of course, the mayor's race here in Jefferson County will also get a lot of attention as well, because it'll be the first time in 12 years that we'll get to select a new mayor for the city.
The one's really bringing people out. And Iris, with more than a decade of experience in political and policy with the GOP, what do you think is driving Republican voters today?
There's this national trend, right, where we're hearing lots of feedback, lots of concerns, kitchen table conversations about the economy and inflation. And so how much money do people have in their pockets after they go to the grocery store, when they go to the gas pump? We're having to do more with less.
That's what you think is really making people head to the polls.
Yep.
All right, David, so what's the one race you are watching closely, the one you really think we're going to have to wait until all the votes are in to know which way it's going to go?
Actually, I'll give you two races that I think to watch. One will be the mayor's race between Craig Greenberg and Bill Dourif. That one's going to be a close race to watch. I think there's been a lot of attention locally brought to that one. The other one is going to be in the county clerk's race between Bobby Holzclaw, the Republican incumbent, and then Tina Ward Pugh, one of my former colleagues, longtime public servant here in Jefferson County. I think that between those two races, there's going to be a lot of focusing on those, particularly in the county clerk's race, for example. That race, Bobby Holzclaw has a reputation of being a true nonpartisan public official, and so it'll be interesting to see whether or not voters, Democratic voters in particular in Jefferson County, will split their ticket, or will they stick with just voting straight party line.
And a quick follow-up for you there. With the mayor's race, how unusual is it to have a really close race in Louisville for the mayor?
Not particularly. When it's an open seat, you tend to have closer races, as both parties feel like they have a chance to select who they want for that particular seat. Once the mayor's been established, unless they've done something extremely egregious, then usually people stick with the incumbent.
Okay, and Iris, so we hear normally early voting, not a popular choice for Republicans. We see more Republicans coming out on an action election day. This year, not the case. Secretary of State telling us, really, it was even for early voting. What do you make of that?
So I think it's two main factors there. I think one is an education standpoint. I think Secretary of State Michael Adams has done an effective job in communicating to voters and constituents that let's encourage early voting. Let's encourage more participation. Let's make it more convenient. And so I think there's sort of an ease of apprehension that your vote still counts if you do not show up just on election day, but prior to. And so I think folks are warming up to that more and more, particularly as younger voters represent a larger portion of registered voters in the Commonwealth. And then also, I just think you see an eagerness to show up. I think as folks are watching the news, and reading all these different national trends, I think there's more of an eagerness to show up and to ensure that your voice is heard.
Thank you both so much for taking time with us today. You're not going anywhere. We have these two with us all night long, but we really appreciate you coming on the floor today.
Thank you.
We'll see you here in just about an hour.